Hey there, for this video I wanted to make a little dinky-dyed dunny. The more I say it, the sillier it sounds, but it is a dunny, so I hope you find this little one a useful tutorial, and I hope you enjoy the video. I'm just drawing up the doorway so I know what size I want to make this little building, because I gauge the doorway on other buildings that I make and just do it the same size. And once I've drawn up the door, I just want to make a line down the center of the door so I can find the center of the peak of the roof. Now just measure in a door frame and draw in the angles to the peak of the roof, and that's the shape of the building pretty much. I just cut it out. And then I'm going to use it as a template to make the back. It's just basically me cutting corners as usual. Just draw it out really roughly. Even my cutting is rough. And you can see the thickness is not the same either, the way I've cut it with a hot wire. But I will sand them. I just hold them together neatly and sand them into a nice uniform shape so they're exactly the same. There is method in my laziness. It works for me. I'm just going to leave the door on so it's nice and steady and strong as I draw the boards in. I will cut it out later. I just roughly measured the size of the boards that I wanted, and then I draw them in much heavier, sort of sculpting them with the pencil after I'd drawn them in. You can do this a few times over, and then I just use toothpicks. I forgot what they were called. Use toothpicks for this because the insulation foam, it tears if you use a wire brush. Don't worry about little holes, that's like a knot in the wood, it's all good. And it's just a nice, quick, natural way to make what looks like wood. Now that I've got it all marked up, I'm happy to cut it out. So I'm not worried about the frame breaking, being fragile. And just glue the panels together. Once it's thoroughly dry, I will put my favourite on, some brown ink. That goes on beautifully. I need to record this in slow motion and re-watch it over and over for myself. I just love watching this process as it soaks into the foam. You almost immediately get to see all the detail come out. Look at that, it's beautiful. When it's dry, you can see the difference. It's even more like wood. It's got an amazing effect. I really love it. Then some cardboard, just corrugated cardboard that I had peeled the top off, exposed the interior of it, and I've kept the door, just use it as a template as well. I didn't want to use the foam because it's too thick, so I wanted to use this little bit of cardboard that I will mark up like wood. You can use a pencil for this, you could use a pen, a paintbrush to mark out corrugations, and a knife just to cut halfway through, like just scoring through it to make it look as though the boards are separate, and then the pencil can help define that once you've done it. And you can heavily draw in what will look like grain into the cardboard. When you paint this, it has quite a good effect. I gave it a quick spray with some flat black. Remember not to put that spray on the foam or it will destroy it. And then just a craft knife just to cut out some, bits of the door so it looks a bit rougher and older. And then I glued on the little roof. It's just so quick and easy. I will put the door on later when I don't have to worry about fiddling around and knocking it off. A little bit of foam core board that I peeled the top of just to put a floor into it. This will sit on a diorama later, but it needs to have something inside. Something to support the actual dunny itself. And use my lovely lump of concrete to rough it up to make it look like ground or dirt. Really bashed it good, I did. And a little strip of cardboard down the peak of the roof just to cover that little gap. And it's a nice little added feature. A little cube of insulation foam marked up the same way as I did the outside of the building, just to make it look like wooden boards. Do make sure you sand it so it's porous as well. And then I just use the lid of this texter just to get a quick easy circle, cut it out. It didn't have to be perfect. I painted the inside of this black so it disguised anything that wasn't perfectly done, and it disguised the depth as well, make it look deeper than it is. With the door, I noticed a slight curve on it which concerned me over the longevity of this, so I put a couple little coffee stirrers on just to be supports, and they're once again an added detail, which is nice. I used a lovely grey. I don't know what I made it up, not the lovely grey bit, the actual colour, out of blue, brown, black and yellow, ochre and white, and I will coat everything. Just it's priming it, I suppose, more than dry brushing at the moment, just to give everything that aged look or weathered look. That foam is still really, really absorbent because there's only one layer of ink in it, so it's taking everything on board that you put onto it at the moment. Looks good though, you can see that faux grain. Don't forget to paint the inside of this as well. I'm going to give it now some just straight up brown ink and just basically just dirty it up, especially at the bottom and the top underneath the little eave there. The first lot of ink kind of just wets it down, and once you've wet it down it will start to bleed, which gives it a really nice natural look, as you can see it just bleeding into it. There's another one for the slow motion that I could rewatch. And it looks great, I love it. And it looks really dirty, really aged and like water and absorption over time. And now the rust. I just stippled on some burnt sienna just to start out the rust. I used a dry brush this time, and my dry brushing and stippling was a lot better than the shack that I had done. And then I just used some red ochre. I used it less, just sort of on top of the areas that I'd already put down the sienna. It just kind of adds that extra look of rust on top. Looks quite good. Quite rusty. It's such an easy process too. I painted in the doorway just with a light yellow just to highlight it. I ended up actually making a little door frame out of a coffee stirrer because I just didn't like how rough this looked. It was super basic. Just threw it on there. It neatened it up a little. And I'm just using this light cream pencil. It's a very, very soft pencil just to do the dry brushing work for me. It's very, very subtle, but once you've done it you can really start to see it picking up there. That's nice and realistic looking, I like that a lot. Just using a water-based glue to glue down the Dunny seat. I didn't show me making this, it's just a bit of polymer clay that I made a ring out of and painted it black and then silver. It's super basic. And I glued the Dunny down to the well-bashed ground. This is the most basic thing I think I've ever made, but I like it. It's It's super rustic. Oh, that word's great. I think it's French for crapper or something. I glued the door on finally after I put this little tiny dunny roll in that I made out of polymer clay and a piece of paper. And that's it. Super easy little thing to go alongside my little Aussie Outback shack. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time.